June 16, 2014, from the Arena Fonte Nova in Salvador, Brazil. It was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. And on day 5, the first matchup was between Germany and Portugal from Group G. 12 minutes in, Thomas Müller converted the penalty kick as he got a right-footed shot to the bottom left corner, and Germany went up 1-0. Then at the 32-minute mark, it was Mats Hummels, and he scored a goal on the header to the top left corner. And that would make it 2-0 Germany. Then at the 45-minute mark, Thomas Müller scores a goal. He scores his second goal of the game with a left-footed shot to the top left corner. So it was 3-0 Germany going into halftime as they were blanking Portugal. Then in the second half, at the 78-minute mark, Thomas Müller scores a goal, a right-footed shot to the center of the goal, as that's his third goal of the game, as Germany goes up 4-0. And that would be the final score, as the Germans blank the Portuguese 4-0 in this matchup. And if you actually look inside the stats, the Portugal team actually was coming with an offensive attack, but it was the goalkeeping of Germany that made the difference. Is Manuel Neuer. He had 4 saves, but he definitely was doing a great job in net. Their defense of Germany was doing good. Portugal actually had just as many shots on goal. They both had 9 shots on goal, but Germany was able to convert almost half of their shots on goal, as they ended up scoring 4 goals. But Portugal couldn't get the ball into the net past the goalkeeper. They even had more corner kicks, with Germany only having the slight advantage on time of possession. But as I said, the goalkeeper of Germany did a great job as he was able to shut out Portugal, and Germany gets a win. June 16, 2014, from the Estadio das Donas in Natal, Brazil. It was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. And in the third game of day 5 from round 1, we had Ghana versus the United States of America. And just 1 minute into this game, Clint Dempsey scored a goal on a left-footed shot to the bottom right corner as the United States took the early lead at 1-0. That would be it for the first half. And deep into the second half, at the 82-minute mark, Andre Ayew scored a goal, the left-footed shot to the bottom left corner to tie this game up at 1 goal apiece. So it was looking like this game might go to a draw, but just 4 minutes later, at the 86-minute mark, John Anthony Brooks scored on a header to the center of the goal. And that was quite an amazing play, as it was a corner kick, and it was almost like a double header as 2 Americans got their heads on it, but it was Brooks who knocked it into the goal, and the United States won this game 2-1, as that would be the final score, as America gets the victory. And in this game, Ghana actually was taking it to them. They had the advantage in time of possession, 59% to 41%. They had 7 corner kicks versus 3 for the United States. And they had even more shots on goal, 8 versus 7. And they had 21 total shots versus the United States, 8 shots. But USA got that quick goal to get the early lead. And then they had the first ever goal by a substitute player in the World Cup from the United States, as John Anthony Brooks scored the game winner to put America up 2-1, and they narrowly escaped this game with a victory. Somehow, some way, a lot of it was their defense. They were holding Ghana off all the way through the game until that 82-minute mark. They finally got that goal. The USA comes up victorious June 21st, 2014, from Estadio Castelao from Fortaleza, Brazil. It was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. And in the second matchup of the day, we saw 2 teams from Group G, as it was Germany versus Ghana. And what a matchup this was. Germany came into this game with a huge victory over Portugal, and Ghana had just narrowly lost to the USA. In this game, in the first half, it was scoreless as neither team would be able to get the goal and get the ball in the net, as the defense and the goalkeeping on each side was spectacular. But then in the second half, things were unleashed. In the 51st minute mark, Mario Götze scored the goal, a left-footed shot to the bottom left corner to put Germany up 1-0. Then less than 3 minutes later, Andre Ayew scored the goal with a header to the bottom left corner to tie this game up at 1 goal apiece, as Ghana got on the board. Then less than 10 minutes later, at the 63-minute mark, Asamoah Gyan scored with a right-footed shot to the bottom left corner to put Ghana up 2-1. So Ghana was in the lead, and it looked like they were going to win this game, but not so fast. At the 71-minute mark, Miroslav Klose scored the goal with a right-footed shot to the bottom right corner to tie this game up at 2 goals apiece. And that would be the final score, as this game would end in a 2-2 draw. What a fantastic game it was. Freaking both teams fighting it out, and they each come away with 1 point. Now Germany has 5 points in the group of death. They're in Group G, and this puts America, the USA, in a prime position in their game tomorrow against Portugal. If the USA wins, they will advance, and they will eliminate Portugal. So with this draw here, big news for the USA. Even though Germany remains ahead 4-3, that's off of 2 games. The USA will play their second game tomorrow against Portugal, with already having 3 points. But in this game, Ghana actually had the advantage on the shots on goal. They had 6 shots on goal versus Germany's 4. Germany had the advantage on corner kicks 7-3, and on time of possession, as they dominated the time of possession 62% to 38%. But Ghana was holding them off with tight defense, and when they had the ball, they were going for the net. They shot it 19 times versus just 12 shots from Germany. Not always directly on net, but they were definitely going for it. They were trying to score every chance they got. They did come away with 2 goals, but Germany with that late goal to tie it up. And good goalkeeping too. They had 4 saves versus 2 saves for Ghana. So Manuel Neuer did a nice job for Germany in the net, and Fadua Dauda did for Ghana. So good goalkeeping on each side, and this game ends 2-2. June 22nd, 2014, from Arena Amazonia, Manaus, Brazil, was the 2014 FIFA World Cup, Brazil. And in the final matchup of the day, we have the United States versus Portugal in a matchup from Group G, the group of death. And going into this game, if the U.S. won, they would advance, and if Portugal lost, they would be eliminated. So everything was on the line here for these 2 teams, especially for Portugal, as they were facing elimination. In just 5 minutes into this game, Nani scored with a right-footed goal to the center of the goal to put Portugal up 1-0. So Portugal got up on the board real quick, as it was 1-0. They led for the whole entire first half. They go into halftime up by 1 goal, 1-0. Things were looking bleak for the U.S., but then in the second half at the 64-minute mark, Jermaine Jones scored the goal with a right-footed shot to the bottom right corner. And it was now tied at 1 goal apiece. It looked like this game would be a draw, but then at the 81st minute mark, Clint Dempsey scored the goal with it was crazy, right in front of a chip shot. He knocked it in from right in front of the net. Portugal wanted offsides, but it wasn't offsides, as the graphic would show, as Clint Dempsey got the goal from right up close, just chipped it in, knocked it in, and the U.S. was up 2-1. And it looked like the U.S. was going to win, and they were going to advance, and Portugal was going to be eliminated. We went to the stoppage time. They added on 5 minutes, and just as the clock was winding down, there was only seconds left, and U.S. was about to win this game, and then all of a sudden, Silvestre Valera scored the goal, the header, as he got the assist from Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo kicked it from the right side, perfect kick pass right to the head of Silvestre Valera. He's put his head on the ball, right into the net, right past the goalie. And now this game was tied without any chance of further play. It was over. Tie game 2-2. Just when it looked like the United States was going to win, Portugal somehow, some way, is able to pull off the draw with the late goal with just literally seconds left on the clock in stoppage time. The whistle was right about to blow, and they scored an improbable shot. I think the U.S. thought the game was over, but friggin' here comes Ronaldo, kicks it over, the header by Varela, and this game is tied, and now the United States gets 1 point, Portugal gets 1 point, they stay alive, and the U.S. is now tied with Germany. They both got 4 points each, and now it's going to all come down to what happens in 4 days from now on the 26th, this Thursday. The United States will be facing off against Germany, and the winner of that match is going to be moving on. Of course, that could end up in a draw, and then they would both move on. But Portugal also has to face Ghana, so it's going to depend on what happens there. Ghana has 1 point, Portugal has 1 point. Depending on who wins there, you never know. Everyone's still alive in the group of death in Group G. Just an amazing game. Quite the freaking outcome. It looked like the U.S. was going to win. They had it. They had this game sealed. It was heartbreaking. It was unbelievable. And who would have thunk it? And of course, Ronaldo. Freaking, he hadn't done anything the whole World Cup. And then here at the end of this game, the huge assists. Perfect pass for the header. They tie this game up. Quite the excitement, quite the game, and that wraps it up for this day. But let's look inside the stats, and Portugal actually had the time of possession slightly, 52 to 48%. U.S. had more saves, 5 to 3. They were getting great goal play from Tim Howard. Beto, though, was playing good for Portugal. Portugal had 7 shots on goal versus the U.S.'s 5. It looked like Portugal had this game all along. They were ahead 1-0. U.S. comes back to go ahead with huge goals in the second half. Portugal with that goal at the end in the stoppage time. U.S. had an advantage on corner kicks, 6-4. But what a game this was, as Portugal somehow finds a way to stay alive. June 26, 2014, from Arena Pernambuco in Recife, Brazil. It was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. And in the first pair of matchups on the day, we had teams from Group G facing off in the group of death. And in this game, it was Germany versus the United States, with everything on the line, as it was pretty much win or go home. Of course, a draw would advance both teams, and the only way the United States or Germany would move on if they lost was if Portugal beat Ghana, and depending on how many goals they would score, because the goal differential would come into play if that were the case. But in this game, things were tight in the first half. It was 0-0. Neither team would score, as the goalies on both sides were playing excellent in the net. Germany was dominating on time of possession, though. And then the second half, at the 55-minute mark, Thomas Mueller scored the goal with a right-footed shot to the bottom right corner off the corner kick. So Germany went up 1-0. They would hold on to that slight lead, and they would win this game 1-0 as they beat the United States, and Germany is the top team from Group G to move on to the next round, the round of 16. And in this game, Germany dominated the time of possession, 67% to 33%. They also dominated on shots on goal, 6 shots on goal versus 0 for the United States. They weren't able to muster even 1 shot on goal. And on corner kicks, Germany 3-2. That was a slight advantage there. The U.S. did have some really excellent goalkeeping, as they had 5 saves versus 0 saves for Germany, as Tim Howard was excellent in the net. It was a physical battle. Players were down on the field, needing to leave. It was quite the game. Both teams let it all out on the field. Thomas Mueller, he comes up just shy of setting a record for goals in the round. He went off earlier in the first two games and then scores again here. He's the hero for Germany, and Germany is moving on to the next round. The United States would have to wait to see what would happen with Ghana and Portugal. And late in the game, the United States saw up on the scoreboard the score flash that Portugal had beat Ghana 2-1, and that means the United States is moving on. So the United States moves out of the group round and on to the round of 16 as the second team from Group G. So both of these teams are moving on. Even though the U.S. lost, at the end of the day, it's a matter of points and points gathered through the three games. The U.S. had 4 points. Portugal beat Ghana. They had 4 points, but it was goal differential, and that's how the United States is moving on to the next round. Is they had a better goal differential than Portugal. So Portugal actually helps the United States to move on, even though they lose here to Germany. So Germany wins to take the top spot, and the U.S. ends up moving on as they back in with the Portugal win. June 26, 2014, from Estadio Nacional in Brasilia. Brazil was the 2014 World Cup Brazil. In the first pair of matchups in the day, we had teams from Group E facing off, and in this game it was Ghana versus Portugal, as both teams had a chance to advance depending on what happened in the game versus Germany and the USA. Also, if they could win and if they could score enough goals. They both needed to win and make a difference in the goal differential. Ghana actually had a good goal differential versus the U.S., whereas Portugal was going to have to rain down the goals today and pick up the win if they were going to have a chance to advance to the next round, to the round of 16. So these teams were laying it all out on the line, and it was a tight game. And at the 30-minute mark, John Boy actually scored on his own goal. And so that put Portugal up 1-0. So Portugal went into halftime with a 1-0 lead after the mistake by Boy. Of course, they're under heavy pressure there for that to happen. So then in the second half, at the 57-minute mark, Asamoah Gyan scored the goal with a header to the bottom right corner. And it was now a tied game. But then, at the 80-minute mark, it was looking rough. It was looking like it was going to be a tie game. And in the 80-minute mark, Cristiano Ronaldo scored the goal with a left-footed shot to the bottom right corner. And that put Portugal up 2-1. So Cristiano Ronaldo comes up big for Portugal. And he ends up being the hero for the United States as well, as Portugal wins this game 2-1. They knock Ghana out. And in the process, they also are eliminated as the United States moves on to the next round as a result of this result. So Cristiano Ronaldo was actually named after Ronald Reagan, and he comes up big for the U.S. in a game that was Portugal versus Ghana. And what a game it was. Portugal, when it came to shots on goal, they had the advantage 10-6, almost twice as many shots on goal, and more than twice as many corner kicks, 7-3, and they also had the advantage on time of possession, 54% to 46%. Of course, Ghana was getting some nice goalkeeping from Fatwu Dada, as he had 6 saves in the net for Ghana. That was versus the 3 saves for Beto over there in Portugal. So this game came down to the wire, and at the end with just 10 minutes left before stoppage time, Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest players in soccer, world-renowned, world-famous, known as the best player, known as one of the top in soccer, comes through huge, scores the goal for Portugal. They win this game 2-1. It wasn't enough goals to make up the goal differential that they needed to. So that means that the United States, even though they lost to Germany, they had the points. They were tied with Portugal, 4 points each, and they end up winning, well, advancing off of the goal differential. So Portugal wins and the U.S. advances.